Gillian Hargreaves reporting. Well, just before we came on air, I spoke to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, over the course of this interview, I'm sure we're going to hear from you the arguments why there needs to be this intervention in the UK economy. But as we stand, 24 hours out from the Chancellor's statement, how precarious is the position of the UK economy? Are we on the edge of a precipice?
No, but the global economy is in great difficulty. I mean, what's happened is we've had a banking crisis, which started in America, makes me incredibly angry about what happened, the irresponsibility of risk-taking and the irresponsibility of not disclosing things. That has now spread to become not just a financial crisis, but an economic crisis. And the case that we have got to face is, do you take action now to prevent permanent damage later? And by taking action now, and by doing things that are perhaps quite unique, can you prevent the economy getting into a worse position, and can you come out of it stronger? And that's really the questions that we are facing at the moment. To do nothing, in my view, would be irresponsible. To take action would be prevent things getting worse. To take action in a coordinated way with other countries joining us, as we have been proposing, would actually be far better, because it would magnify the impact of what we're doing. But not to act is both irresponsible and uncaring, given that what people are worried about at the moment, the people sitting at home watching your programme, there are people worried about their mortgages, there are people worried about their jobs, and there are people worried about their savings, and small businesses particularly worrying about cash flow. We can act, okay, and that's the role of government.
So given the extent of what you're saying is the problem, I know you won't go into the detailed figures now, that's for the Chancellor in his statement tomorrow, but how big a fiscal stimulus does the UK economy need?
Well, there's been talk around the world. I was in Washington last weekend debating this with other countries. Everybody generally agrees that the fiscal stimulus, and that's what we mean by a fiscal stimulus, is real help for businesses and families now, has got to be substantial to have an impact. And you'll hear President-elect Obama talking about a major stimulus in America. All around Europe, the different countries are talking about what they can do. China, India, Japan, Australia, in the Asian bloc are also talking. So
unprecedented.
It's big, because look, what we're facing really is a credit crunch, and now the prospect of inflation going very low. And in these circumstances, interest rate cuts can have an impact, but you need something else. And this is where government comes in. When you've got low inflation and fiscal action does not therefore lead to inflation being the problem, you can take that action. And in my view, you must take that action to help families and businesses now.
It's the most almighty gamble, though. There's no guarantee this is going to work.
I think it's pretty clear to me that when we recapitalised the banks, it was the right thing to do. So we took action first in Britain, and every other country in the world followed, and we've strengthened the banking system.
So it's no gamble?
Well, I don't see this as a gamble. I see this as necessary, responsible action that any sensible government would want to take. Those people who say, do nothing now, would leave people, as in the 80s and the 90s, without hope of that their mortgage problems could be sorted out, or their jobs problems could be sorted out. It would be lacking in compassion as well as irresponsible, in my view. And our job as a government is to say, look, here is the problem, here is the problem. The problem is that the system is not working well enough. We make it work better. We have a long-term plan. What you'll see tomorrow is concerted and coordinated programme of action, a plan of action right across the board, not just one item, not just one initiative, because we are clear that action can be taken to take us through this difficulty.
I understand that, but can we be clear about this? That at some future date there will be a day of reckoning where taxes will have to go up to pay for this. And are you going to be clear about that tomorrow?
I think you could be absolutely clear that the Chancellor will set out a plan of action over a number of years for both taking action now and ensuring the security of British public finances. And I think you'll find that everything is above board. It is stated. There is no hidden manifesto. People will be absolutely clear that we're taking action now to prevent permanent damage later. If we did not, can I just finish? If we did not take action now, then the problems later in terms of the cost to the country would be even greater.
And you've made that argument, Prime Minister. I just want to be clear about this, and sort of, I'm kind of be the shop steward for the plain English campaign. That does mean tax increases later.
What it means is he'll set out a plan. Now, I'm not going to announce his plan, but he'll set out the plan, and you'll see it tomorrow.
But the principle is that if you're going to increase borrowing now, then there would have to be tax increases at a future date to pay for it.
Well, you've got two things happening when an economy moves forward. You've got more growth in the economy and therefore more tax revenues. And then you've got your public spending commitments to meet. So yes, he's going to set out a plan tomorrow, but the plan he sets out tomorrow will be comprehensive and it will be concerted. And it will be based on our understanding also of what other countries are going to do around the world, because this is a global crisis, needs global answers, and we've got to work with other countries as well.
So the Tory critique is correct then, that this is a borrowing binge and we'll pay for it tomorrow in tax increases?
No, it's completely wrong actually. The Conservative idea is do nothing now, leave people to face the storm, refuse to help them, because essentially it's worse to take action than not to take action. My argument is, and every other country now accepts this, every continent is taking the same thing, is you've got to give real help to businesses and families now. Not to give real help now would cause more damage later, but the stimulus we give, and that's real help for business and family, has got to be temporary, it's got to be timely, and it's got to be targeted, and that's what it will be. I really despair of people who say in a moment of difficulty facing a country, there's nothing we can do. It's back to there is no alternative. It's back to this idea that unemployment is a price worth paying. Now, that position may be taken by the Conservatives. They may walk away from their responsibilities, but we know that taking action now is the right thing to do. In fact, it is the only thing to do, and that's not just accepted by left-wing governments or centre governments, it's accepted by right-wing governments as well.
In fairness, David Cameron hasn't said that, has he? I mean, he said
exactly
that he said that there ought to be a freeze on council taxes. There are proposals they've made to help unemployment.
But he says there should be no additional fiscal stimulus, and what it means is that there is no overall additional money injected into the economy. It means we can't help homeowners with their mortgages. It means we can't help people and stop redundancies. And it means also that we can't help people who are worried about their savings and people who are worried as small businesses about their cash flow. If you say at the moment, and this is the whole point of economics, that there's nothing that government can do by spending more or investing more at the moment, then that is a gospel of despair for the future. What I am prepared to do is take the action that is necessary, show people how over the longer term we've got a plan for fiscal security and fiscal sustainability, everything out there on the table, the country sees it fairly and squarely, and I believe that people will say that action now is better than no action, and there are greater problems later.
So let's talk about some of the specific. What would be the arguments, for example, say, for a cut in VAT?
I don't want to go into these specifics because obviously these are announcements, whether it's about VAT or anything else, that would have to be made in a proper statement. What I would, however, say is whatever is announced tomorrow, it's part of not one measure or 2 or 3 measures. It's a concerted and coordinated plan that the Chancellor has been working on for some time. So if you want to single out one potential measure, I would urge you to look at a range of measures and a range of important measures that will actually get the economy moving forward.
But what about that particular one? Every newspaper has gone with the possibility of a cut in VAT. I know you're not going to get into the specifics, but how would, hypothetically, I know, announcement tomorrow, how would, hypothetically, a cut there help?
But John, you wouldn't expect me to talk about measures that are going to be announced tomorrow. But what I can say is, look, what are the problems we face? The problems we face are, first of all, banks are not giving credit and there's not sufficient cash flow to small businesses. So we have to deal with that. The second problem we face is that people are worried about their homes and their mortgages, and I think we can deal with that. The third problem is people are worried about jobs and whether we can do something that was never done in the 80s and 90s, and that's help people stay in jobs. And the fourth thing is confidence. And of course, when you act on spending and on consumer spending, that's about confidence.
Sure, and we'll talk about some of those issues, and particularly the banks, in a moment. I just want to stick with this idea of the sort of targeting the help. Is there a particular group that needs help, or are you just saying it's help to everyone? Because Alistair Darling in the papers this morning seems to be suggesting it's help for everyone, including millionaires.
But you've got to get the economy moving forward. I mean, the economy moves forward when people have sufficient confidence to take the actions that they would normally take in good times. And certainly people are worried about the mortgages, so they've not been spending. Certainly people are worried about their jobs, so they've been tightening their belts. What we need, right across the world, by the way, and this is why I'm talking to people in America and in Europe all the time, is a concerted action that will bring the confidence that is missing in the system. When a system.
So you want people to spend more?
Well, I think we want people to be protected in their jobs by an economy that's moving forward as far as possible. I think we want people to feel secure in their homes, because most people have assets in their homes that are worth a great deal of money, but many people feel insecure. And I think we want the cash flow for small businesses to be moving forward. Now, all that
But you'd like to see the tills jangling a bit more on the high street.
All that. I think consumer spending is part of this, but I think it's also a confidence in the economy that encourages employers that there's going to be markets for them in the future, and encourages homeowners that their homes are safe, and encourages people to trust the banks again. And one of the features of this crisis, and I think we should really look at what's gone wrong, is that the people have not been trusting banks that have made irresponsible mistakes.